in the spotlight today in Faver with the amazing Miss Details, Tanya Gagnon. And there's so much going on here. So we're going to talk about my background. We're going to talk about her background. We're going to talk about what she's wearing. And well, maybe we'll talk about what I'm wearing. But ideally, we want to talk about brand-driven marketing that connects with your customers and moves your business forward, which of course is what Tanya does. But just a little piece of background, we have done a ton of spotlights for Event Ensemble, and this is now an event. Pardon me, this is a spotlight for In Faver. So we have a new brand, and we've branded this specifically for Miss Details. See how that works? And she's going to talk about branding today, and hopefully she won't beat me up too much. And obviously your backdrop and your outfit. I mean, it is so, the colors, it's spa, it's on point. I'm assuming that this either makes you your happy place, or is that really on brand for your ideal client?
A little bit of both. Yes, the answer would be yes. Definitely it is my dream office, and it's how I manifest every day when I'm in meetings, since I do so many virtual meetings. It has my logo back there because it's branded, it's me. This is if my brand were to build an office from the ground up, this is what it would look like. And I invite you into my office when we're chatting. So very light, very airy. And actually, I'm wearing the same top that is in my photo that you have on your screen.
Oh, now, was that a conscious, movement there?
Yeah.
I will confess that I am a serial stalker for my audience, and that I will check out their Facebook, profile picture. And if they're wearing blue, then when I meet with them, I'm going to wear blue.
I love it. You're sensitive that way, and that's why we get along so well.
Well, I'm not sensitive. You don't have to start, saying I'm sensitive.
In all the best ways. That was meant to be a compliment, not the negative connotation that sensitive is.
I know, but I like to be silly sometimes, or irreverent when it comes to these. But it's such a perfect example that your brand is not just your office space or the backdrop, but it is in fact what you wear.
Very true.
And it's also your eyewear. As I've mentioned to you many times, your eyewear is your brand, whether you're aware of it or not. Right. And I'm going to bet that your perfume or your soap scent is part of your brand.
Yeah, well, and recognizable on a personal level, obviously, and then because it becomes part of who you are. And since I am my brand and I overflowed my character into my brand as I built it, you are correct. And I see what you're getting at in the senses and everything about that unique experience.
So let's talk about that then, because it's one of my favorite topics that makes or distinguishes Miss Details from truly all other marketing people and branding people that I've spoken with. What is it about these five senses?
It's about designing for the full human experience. The five senses, obviously we design in most people 80%, 100% for visual, what you're seeing right now. Then there's auditory, and then the lesser senses that are actually thought about are the scents and the smells and the touch and the tactiles. Even the auditory ones aren't thought about that much. But if you think about all of them in focusing on a human experience, it just makes things much more memorable. There's so much science behind it. I wrote my thesis way back in college on sensory design, and that's where it stemmed from. But having that philosophy and that approach to each project and trying to incorporate, if your brand smelled like bubblegum versus your brand smelled like old leather.
Hold on. Go ahead. Bubblegum.
Bubblegum or old leather, right away, the audience right now is getting a picture of, I know that there's some big differences in those brands. That's all I have to say as far as that sort of scent, or even if it's tactile, or if it's sticky sweet, or if it's, old and dusty, really kind of bringing that in. And that imagery that I start to talk about can inspire stock images, hero images on your website, so the senses can inspire other senses. So the smells inspire the visuals and vice versa. So it's not about everyone has to have a signature scent that they spritz over everything. It's that the scent is an inspiration to add depth to their brand.
And it could be about the word you choose, because that word can be so either emotionally charged or bring back a memory and take them to a place. And just by using that one word, you've actually done more than if you had said a full sentence.
Very true. Very true. Everything, and it gets overwhelming when you start to think about all those little details. But if you start to really just think in broad strokes initially, and then over time, you can just kind of work in a much more sensitive brand. And that word sensitive, all good.
And it's all about the details, right, Miss
Right?
Details?
It is, definitely.
Okay, so I'm going to get in the weeds here, because sometimes when we do these, we just assume that everybody's a professional, but honing in on something that's really specific allows you to shine. And I'm hopeful that what you're going to share is going to allow you to do just that. The customer is not always right.
True.
So when you are sitting down with whatever the industry is, and they'll use words like, I see, well, then you know that they're visual. Or, well, what I hear from you, and then you know that they're auditory. Or, this smells like sour, so can we do something else? And then again, you kind of know where they're coming from. But what if you determine that their ideal client is not necessarily connecting with the brand based on what they are bringing to you and saying that this is what they want?
That happens quite often, especially when a brand is in growth phase, or even if a CEO is taking on a personal role in the branding exercises. I definitely let them know that you might not be your ideal customer. So we start there and we say, Scott, are you your ideal customer? And I'm talking about, everything from your income, where you live, how old you are, just about everything. And a lot of people say, no, actually, it's the complete opposite. They live on the East Coast, or they're in the UK, or they're 40 years younger than me, or they're 20 years older than me, that sort of thing. So really getting people to understand that we are designing to tell the story of what their brand is all about, who they are. Sometimes it is a solopreneur and sometimes it's a larger brand. So there is some authenticity that comes through from the brand personality and core values that they hold, but we're not designing for them. Like and when I ask them to give me feedback, it's not like, hey, do you like this or do you like this? I say, what resonates with you? And they say, oh, and in their mind, they might be like, I really love this. And I say, why? And they say, oh, well, orange is my favorite color. That's not a good reason, right? But if they say, I can see myself telling the story of my business using this logo. I see this part means this and this part means this. And I can really, it helps me understand my brand more. Aha, that is why it should resonate with you. So there's that conversation, that's the education part that I really love doing. Just making sure people understand, kind of what we're designing that is them, and who we're designing for.
And there's sometimes two different audiences.
Oh yeah, sometimes they have lots of audiences, but we try to really focus in on the core 1 to 2 audiences. And I always say, never forget, one of your audiences are your potential team members and your employees, because they're looking at your brand as well.
Interesting. So do you use focus groups sometimes that will help you to hone in on who their ideal client is?
Yeah, sometimes, depending, I work with businesses of all different sizes, and depending on budget and timeline, we can bring in focus groups. We can do a completely digital focus group. We can do some research based on, even if they're just starting out and they have maybe 5 or 6 clients, we can do exercises with them to say, well, who are your favorite clients to work with? And who do you want more of? So we can help them define their audience, even if they don't know it very well. So there's a lot of different tools, again, depending on budget and timeline.
Okay, so it sounds like you have some ideas. In other words, some processes in place, so that when somebody comes and says, help.
Yes.
So where do you start?
That's a question a lot of business owners don't know where to start. And that's where I can come in. A lot of them know they need something. So if you're a startup, you need everything, right? You might have a business name and you know, oh my gosh, I just need everything, every platform, every other website. I need my marketing and trade show. And oh my gosh, I don't have the budget for it. Where do I start? So helping them define, okay, what are the priorities, setting that core foundation for startups. And when I say foundation, there's two different parts. There's defining who they are as a business, meaning their mission and the core values, just like a person, defining personality, like we were talking about before, and then the visual personality as well, that foundation, the logo, and kind of that core brand identity of being able to start to recognize, oh, that's UPS because they always use brown, or that, you know, there's reasons for certain brand standards and design pieces. And then sometimes business owners will come and they're in growth mode. They've been going for a while. They have a chaotic mess of lots of different marketing pieces, and they don't know, you know, kind of where to start or what they need. And that's where we do a refresh. We kind of do an initial audit and review what's working, what's not, and what they got, and then help them phase things out to where, okay, you've got, you know, a big event coming up in October. Let's make sure we've got our best face forward, and we need to do these 4 things. And then, okay, we can put a budget aside for adding on like these 4 things next, and helping them define that process.
Wow. You answered my question before I asked it, because I was going to go down the path of what if what they have is not so good or needs to be fixed. And obviously you'll work with them either way. So if they're brand new, then that's really probably the easiest. But even if they have existing collateral and content, you can help them to define what's working, what's not working, and as you say, refresh it, which is great. So you mentioned they've got this big event. I'm assuming it means that they've got something like a convention coming up, or
Right.
A sales event of some sort. And you're going to help them with their branding for what they're going to share with their audience. Do we get into promotional products as well?
Yeah, so I can help them brainstorm promotional products. I can help them with the artwork and that sort of thing. And I can recommend vendors. I have a lot of promotional product vendors that I can connect them with. I just don't actually manage that part once it's set in motion, but, you know, helping them figure that out and spending where they should spend their money wisely on promotional products, as well as, you know, those, when we're talking about the event itself, how to get the most out of it, whether it be to have a separate dinner for invited prospects and clients on the side, you know, emails that go out beforehand, emails that go out afterwards, giveaways, downloads, resources and tools, and presentation design, all that fun stuff.
Well, I'm glad you said it was fun. I don't know that your customers think it's fun, but it's good that you do.
Right.
You mentioned email. And so often I see people that are what I refer to as incongruent. In other words, they've got 3 different taglines, 4 different pictures, and 2 different colors, and their fonts are all over the place. And they're sending stuff, and people don't even recognize that it's the same company sometimes, because they have 2 different company names when it's the same business, or it's his name and then it's the other company name. And it can be a tangled web. Yes.
Very true. Very true. And sometimes that's the challenge and the audit part. You know, we'll ask the questions, you know, how many presentation decks do you have? How many emails do you have going out? And one person says, oh, you know, a couple. And then we delve in and there's, you know, 17 different email automations that have been going out for years that they forgot to change logos on, or websites, or, you know, that sort of thing, where no one person knows exactly what's going on. So that's the goal, is to be able to say, okay, here's what you're doing, and we need to edit and pull this together. And like you said, when you're consistent with your brand image, over time, people recognize you, and those emails are so much more powerful that go out.
Don't get me started on email. Okay, but in regards to email, web, and copy, and you know, when I think marketing, it covers such an expanse. It's not just your website.
Very true.
So
Very true.
I'm assuming that you're doing more than just web design.
Yes, and you mentioned it initially. You said brand driven marketing firm. And the reason why I phrased it that way is because it's all about the branding, and that's where our expertise lies, in the branding, the brand messaging, as well as that visual connection. So the marketing tactics that we add on all support growing a brand organically, and then also supporting it, scaling it with some additional digital marketing tactics like email marketing and such. But there are many things that we don't do. Like, we're not a PR firm and we're not a PPC company and those sort of things, but I have experts that I can bring in. I look at the business as a holistic marketing expert with a brand focus, and help them build their core foundational brand, the design pieces, so all the print pieces and the design, the PowerPoint decks, the brochures, the media kits, as well as the digital visuals like the website, your downloads or email or lead magnets, your quizzes, anything like that. Social media, we're really heavy on social media strategy and design as well, helping them with that. But like you said, there are so many spokes and wheels in marketing that if we don't do it, I can recommend or bring in a partner or help with that as well. Most of the time, I'm the first stop because it all starts with branding. So you're not going to just dive into creating, a 10 ad set pay-per-click campaign when you don't know what your visuals should look like or what to say or all that fun stuff.
But they do.
And it's just a waste of money. And then they get lucky because, if you pay enough money, you'll get some leads.
Right.
But with great branding and memorable design, you can gain a lead or a customer for life, or somebody on your email list, and you can nurture them down different funnels and help them understand who you are and be able to be a raving fan.
Ooh, what I call screaming, raving, referring fans.
Very true. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm all about the alliterative.
That is a tough word to say. I'm not going to say it.
Okay, we're moving on. So if there was one, like, you got to get it done now, or one tip or one idea in regards to branding, it is the center of the spoke that makes the wheel. What would that one thing be?
Be uniquely you.
Ooh.
And I know that it might, and that's a little bit general, but a lot of people want to say, I want to look like this company. I want to do what look how successful they are. I'm going to do exactly what they do. And that's really focusing on they sell this widget, so do I. And they've got success, I'm going to look exactly like them. They're focusing on the what. You focus on you and the why. So telling your story uniquely, showing who you are uniquely, speaking to some sort of differentiator that makes you unique. And then those people will say, oh, that's the widget company that does these great events. That's the widget company that supports greyhounds. That's the widget company that I want to buy from because I like that stuff too. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes more than sense. It makes money.
Yes.
Makes dollars. It's brilliant. There's only one Tanya Gagnon, and there's only one Miss Details. You need to be you, and
Very
let
true.
that company be them. And you're the one that I wanted to talk to today. So thanks for taking the time to sit down with us.
Oh, this was fantastic. Thanks for having me.